All right. I'm going to try to not be too long-winded as I am prone to do, but I wanted to do a vlog, so to speak, or vlog, or whatever you kids call it, or it's a video, whatever. Listening to your coach. And let me tell you something first and foremost. I don't know everything there is to know about strength, but I'm pretty good at it, and I have developed a system that we have been extremely successful with, even to the point, using like Melissa as an example, where she did, in a 3-month period of time, she did 2 strongman contests, one being a nationals and placing 3rd in her first nationals, to hitting a national qualifying total in Olympic weightlifting, and then hitting lifetime meet PRs in all 3 lifts and totals in a powerlifting meet. She did those 4 events in 3 months' time, training for them all at the same time. So what I'm trying to make a point is not how great my training is that there is a very, very definitive plan. And here's what happens, and this is what I want to talk about, is when you guys, and you know who you are, you don't need for me to single you out, that's not going to help anything. First, I love the exuberance and the want to work and to improve. I can completely appreciate that. But I had this conversation with Louis Simmons one time, and he and I, every time we get around each other, we're talking about lifting and training and other things that we've experienced since we've seen each other, which is always a treat, trust me. And anybody that knows Lou knows he's quite the character. But one of the things that he told me, he goes, with guys like us and the people we coach, it's never about, you never worry about, is this lifter or athlete going to work hard enough? The issue and the worry is, are they going to work smart enough? And that is why you have a coach. All of you guys that I work with, you know how to lift weights. You didn't need me to teach you how to do that. But putting a routine, a cycle together, and how to assess the needs and stuff like that, making the tweaks to form and creating cues that make you successful, that's what a coach does for you. And here's where it flies off the rails. You have a system that's put into place, and each week you get a set number of workouts, and they're specific, and then you go to the gym and you don't do what is typed out. And now here's what happens, or at least with me, the system I have in place, I have a basic template that if I can have 6 to 8 weeks with the lifter when they're doing precisely what is programmed, it's not because I'm right and they're wrong and I know everything and I'm in full control. That has nothing to do with it. We have to put a little bit of body of work together to kind of find where the baselines are. What are the real issues? If you're a 300-pound squatter that is struggling to get to 315, but you're super confident at 225, until I get you in a working range of 85 and 90%, sometimes the issues don't show up until then. Or until we put you in a position where you're using accommodating resistance, like chains or bands in the deadlift, or whatever the case may be. I'm just using those as an example. The issues are not always going to show up right away. And so when you skew that by not doing what is programmed and what is directed, then it makes the coach's job much, much more difficult on what adjustments to make. Because a lot of times it's all, you got to have a plan and you got to work that plan. But until you actually work the plan and you are consistent is not 2 to 3 weeks. Consistent is week after week after week. Then you make adjustments based on what the lifter's needs are, or whatever the issues are, or those types of things. So when you do extra reps, or you do things like you're going to bench 200, but you do the bar for 10, 65 for 8, 85 for 8, 95 for 5, 105 for 5, and I start making adjustments so you space those warm-ups where it's your warm-up becomes a workout. You're doing so many reps. And if your working set is 200 and you're doing singles at 175, 185, 190, and 195, you're setting yourself up for failure. So I'm just using those things as an example. Now here's another thing. I will have people that pay me for programming and to coach them, and then I get no video. And the whole thing, the whole success of remote training is for me to be able to see so I can coach. So when you don't send video, I can't coach what I don't see. And you might be very descriptive and be very good at saying all the right things, but if I can't see it, I can't make an adjustment. And then if you text me or message me, hey, I'm sending you my video and the session felt like shit, and that's all the information I get, I don't know what that means. I assume it's not good, but I have nothing to go on. Were you sick that day? Did your spouse chew your ass out? Were the kids crazy? Did the boss, was he an asshole? What's going on? And that's why I asked, even though I sent you the numbers, to email me back exactly what you did. Hopefully it's verbatim, but then you can interject. On set 1, I got a little loose, and this is what I felt. And so I can make that notation and make a look at what's going on and see if there's something afoot, see if there's an adjustment that we can make, or whatever the issue may be. So the more information I have, it does two things. It helps me do a better job of coaching, and then for both of us, and mainly you, the lifter, it gives you a great reference point. You can go back and look at that video. You can go back and look at your notes and go, hey, I wasn't feeling good this day, or, oh, I remember I had, Matt Kirkin, I had 12 crystals and chili cheese fries, and the next day, I didn't feel so good, so like the day before squat day, or whatever the case may be, we're going to save chili cheese fries for late Saturday when you're drinking beer, whatever the case may be. The things that have a detriment to your training, you notate them so so you can just make simple adjustments. Sometimes it seems like the littlest of things can throw you off. So when you have that information, it becomes vital to your success. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And I had someone today, it's a couple, and they are really strong and do their national level, but the guy's back has been bothering him for 2 months, and I found out about it yesterday. I have to know that in advance. If it's bothering you, and I understand, and I completely respect the fact, because this is what he told me in so many words. I didn't want to sound like a crybaby and for you to think that I'm a pussy. Look, if you're powerlifting at the national level, clearly you're not a baby and you're not a pussy, And I will use that. I have, Harry will tell you. Sometimes you got to suck it up, and you can't. You can talk yourself out and push your way out of a lot of stuff if you're not careful, And fear will get you hurt quicker than anything. That doesn't mean though that we're reckless. That doesn't mean that we don't pay attention. If something really hurts, then we either need to train around it, lighten the weight, or sometimes, squats hurt my back so bad I get a sharp shooting pain somewhere where then, do some leg extensions and leg curls and maybe some lat pulls and go the fuck home and don't, because if you blow something out, it goes to the old adage that I've used. The only bad session that you have is the one you miss. If you're hurt or if something's injured or something is tweaked and we can train around it and you're still training, it may bother the piss out of you. And again, I respect the fact that it bothers you, but you have to communicate those things to your coach, and then we can make an assessment, So the bottom line is, Follow the guidelines. I used this with Harry and Matt while they were here. When people color outside the lines and freelance, it's like giving directions. Where I live in Mount Juliet, I'm about 3 miles from Interstate 40. If you go 3 miles and take a left on I-40 East, it will take you to Knoxville. So you have the trainee that likes to freelance all the time and ask me for directions on how to get to Knoxville. Well, just like I told you, go out here to the interstate, take a left, you'll run right into it in about 3 hours. And the trainee goes, but I really wanted to go I-65. I-65 does not go to Knoxville. Get on I-40, take a left, go eastbound, you'll run right into it. But that's not the way I wanted to go. I really wanted to take this back road and get on 65 for a while. But 65 does not take you there. You have to get on I-40 and go east. You'll drive right into it. But that's not best of luck. The thing is when you have a plan and you're paying someone for that plan, the only way to know how truly successful and how well the plan is working is that if you work the plan. Now, that doesn't mean that just because I give you a template, in 12 weeks you're a world champion. I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying is it puts us on a platform to find what adjustments really need to be made. Are we training too heavy? Was that 275-pound squat really legit? Or was the form so terrible that we really need to pull back, correct the form, and we're taking a couple of steps back, but so that you can go on by that and squat 300, something like that. You know, let's make sure that we're putting you in the best position to be successful. And when you just arbitrarily do stuff, that is not optimal, and that's kind of that. It's a pet peeve, and it makes it very difficult for me to be of best service to you, the lifter. So think about that. And even you people, if you read this and you have a coach and you're doing stuff that's not on your program, or you're changing things, you know, you're creating a deficit not only for yourself but for your coach, who is working for you and trying his best to help you. So keep those things in mind and give us all the information. And my folks, text me, message me. If I don't answer, it means that I'm where I can't answer the phone, but I will say something. And if I'm not saying anything, two things are going on. I'm not where I can answer the phone, or I want you to think about it and you sort it out, or you come up with a conclusion and then communicate with me. Because there's times where it's like, this person is not trying hard enough, or we're doing, clearly you see that you're creating a deficit for yourself. So hopefully all that makes sense. I don't want to be in control. I want to help you have your hands on the steering wheel so you're driving true and driving straight. And if you're not communicating with me, and if you're coloring outside of the lines and freelancing, you're making that more difficult. And I want everybody to kick ass and have a good time. And if they do that on my program and become a world champion, that's awesome. That's great for me. But I didn't lift any of the weights, you did. So help me help you be the best that you can.